The gas station clerk's voice echoes across the crowded store. Sorry, old man, but you can't just stand here all day without buying anything. You're making other customers uncomfortable. 82-year-old Frank Miller shifts his weight on his one prosthetic leg, the Purple Heart medal heavy in his jacket pocket as a dozen shoppers turn to stare. Behind the counter, the young employee doesn't notice the faded marine tattoo on Frank's weathered forearm. Before we continue with Frank's story, hit that subscribe button if you believe our veterans deserve better treatment. And drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed someone disrespecting a veteran in public? Let's build a community that honors those who served. Now, here's what happened next that changed everything. Frank Miller had been standing near the coffee machine for maybe 10 minutes, waiting for his grandson Tommy to finish his job interview at the auto shop next door. The morning rain had soaked through his old jacket, and his prosthetic leg was acting up again after the long bus ride across town. At 82, Frank didn't ask for much, just a dry place to wait and maybe the warmth that reminded him of better days. The trouble started when the young clerk behind the counter began watching him. Frank noticed the suspicious glances, the way the kid kept checking his watch and whispering to his coworker. Frank had seen that look before, the one that said he didn't belong. The clerk finally walked over, his name tag reading Tyler. Sir, you've been standing here for a while now. Are you planning to buy something? Frank pulled out his worn wallet, counting the few crumpled bills inside. Just waiting for my grandson, son. Maybe I could get a small coffee? Tyler looked at the wallet, then back at Frank's rain-soaked clothes. That'll be $3.50 for the coffee. But honestly, sir, we've had complaints. You're making people uncomfortable just standing around. The words hit Frank harder than he expected. He looked around the store and noticed other customers were indeed staring. A woman with her 2 young children had moved to the far aisle. A businessman in a suit kept glancing over while pretending to read energy drink labels. Frank's hands shook slightly as he tried to count his money. I have. Let me see here. Tyler's impatience grew. Look, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to either buy something or leave. We can't have people just hanging around. It's company policy. The businessman approached the counter. Excuse me, but is there a problem here? This gentleman seems to be bothering other customers. Frank felt his face burn with shame. I'm not bothering anyone. I'm just waiting for my grandson. He's at the interview next door. Tyler shook his head. Sir, you've been here way too long. I'm going to have to ask you to wait outside, but it's raining, Frank said quietly. And my leg. It's hard for me to stand in the wet. The businessman huffed loudly. Well, that's not our problem, is it? There are protocols for a reason. More customers began gathering around, sensing drama. A teenage girl started recording with her phone. An older woman whispered loudly to her husband about how homeless people were everywhere these days. Tyler's coworker joined him now. What's going on here? This old guy won't leave, Tyler explained. He's been standing around for like 20 minutes, and customers are complaining. Frank felt the walls closing in. All these eyes on him, all these voices talking about him like he wasn't even there. His chest tightened, and for a moment, he was back in that jungle in Vietnam, surrounded by enemies. Nowhere to run. I serve my country, Frank said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. What did you say? Tyler asked. Frank looked up, his voice barely above a whisper. I said I serve my country. Marine Corps. 2 tours in Vietnam. The businessman laughed harshly. Yeah, sure you did, old man. Look, we all have sob stories, but that doesn't give you the right to loiter in private businesses. Frank's hand instinctively moved to his jacket pocket, where the Purple Heart medal rested. The same medal he'd carried for 54 years, through good times and bad. Through jobs lost and friends buried. Through lonely nights when the memories wouldn't let him sleep. Tyler was getting more aggressive now. Sir, I'm not going to ask again. You need to leave right now, or I'm calling security. The crowd of onlookers had grown. Some people were recording videos. Others were shaking their heads in disgust, though Frank wasn't sure if they were disgusted with him or the situation. Middle-aged woman spoke up from behind. Just let the poor man buy his coffee and sit down. What's the harm? Tyler turned to her. Ma'am, we have policies. We can't let people just hang around. What if everyone started doing this? Frank tried one more time. Please, I have the money for coffee. I just need to wait for my grandson. He'll be done soon. The businessman was getting louder now. This is ridiculous. I'm a regular customer here, and I shouldn't have to deal with this. Either remove him, or I'm taking my business elsewhere. Tyler looked nervous, clearly feeling pressure from the growing crowd and the threat of losing a regular customer. All right, sir, he said to Frank. I'm sorry, but you need to leave now. This is your final warning. Frank felt something break inside him. 54 years since he crawled through mud and blood to pull 3 wounded Marines to safety. 54 years since that grenade explosion took his leg and left him with scars that never fully healed. 54 years of carrying the weight. Of friends who didn't make it home, and now he couldn't even wait in a gas station for his grandson. His hand trembled as he reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out the small velvet case, worn smooth from decades of handling. Without saying a word, he opened it. The Purple Heart medal caught the fluorescent lights, its gold edges gleaming against the purple ribbon. The profile of George Washington looked up from the heart-shaped medal, surrounded by the words, "For military merit." The gas station fell completely silent. Tyler stared at the medal, his face going pale. The businessman's mouth dropped open. The woman with the children put her hand over her heart. The teenager stopped recording and lowered her phone. Frank's voice was steady now, though tears ran down his weathered cheeks. October 12, 1970. Hill 875 near Dactio. I lost my leg pulling my brothers out of an ambush. 3 Marines lived because I didn't leave them behind. He looked around the silent store. I never asked for special treatment, never wanted pity. I just wanted to wait for my grandson in a dry place. But I guess earning this wasn't enough to deserve basic human decency. Tyler stepped forward, his voice cracking. Sir, I didn't know. Frank closed the metal case and put it back in his pocket. Now you do. The businessman tried to speak. I had no idea. Frank looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. You didn't need to know my story to treat me like a human being. Just then, the door chimed, and a young man in his 20s rushed in, shaking rain from his jacket. Grandpa, sorry, I took so long. The interview went great, and they offered me the job on the spot. Tommy Miller looked around at the silent crowd, sensing the tension. Is everything okay? Frank straightened his shoulders and managed a small smile for his grandson. Everything's fine now, Tommy. Let's go home, as they walked toward the door. Tyler called out, Sir, wait. Your coffee, it's on the house. And please, you're welcome here anytime. Frank paused at the door and turned back. The kindness in Tyler's voice reminded him that not all hope was lost. Thank you, son. But remember, the uniform comes off, but the person inside remains the same. Treat everyone with respect, not just those with medals. As Frank and Tommy stepped into the rain, the businessman followed them outside. Sir, please wait. I owe you an apology. Frank stopped and turned, raindrops mixing with the tears on his face. The businessman extended his hand. My name is Robert Chun. My father served in Korea. I should have known better. I should have been better. Frank shook his hand firmly. We all have moments we're not proud of, son. What matters is what we do next. Robert pulled out his business Card. I own 3 restaurants in town. You and your grandson eat free anytime. It's the least I can do. Back inside the gas station, Tyler was explaining to his coworker and the remaining customers what had happened. The woman with children approached the counter and bought a gift card. "Give this to that veteran if he ever comes back," she said. "And Tyler, thank you for learning something today." Over the next few weeks, Frank's story spread through the community. Not because anyone posted videos online, but because people talked. They shared the lesson about looking beyond appearances, about remembering that everyone has a story worth respecting. Tommy got his job at the auto shop, and every morning, he and Frank would stop by that same gas station for coffee. Tyler always had it ready, and he'd learned the names of the other regular customers too. He started treating everyone with the same respect he wished he'd shown Frank from the beginning. Frank never spoke about that day again, but he didn't need to. His quiet dignity and the weight of that Purple Heart had taught an entire community something valuable about honor, respect, and the true meaning of service. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought on foreign soil. Sometimes they happen in the most ordinary places, where extraordinary people remind us what it means to be human. Frank Miller carried his Purple Heart for 54 years. But that day in the gas station, his real medal was the respect he earned, simply by being himself, a man who served his country and never stopped serving others, even when they forgot to serve him in return.